The stadium lights burned white against the night sky, turning the field into a glass bowl where every mistake echoed. Marcus Reed felt the laughter before he fully heard it, a ripple of sound, sharp and uneven, crawling up the bleachers and spilling onto the turf. "Wrong sport, Marcus," someone yelled. Another voice followed, louder. "Should have stuck to running track, man." Marcus kept his helmet on. He stared at the grass, at the torn blades near his cleats, counting breaths the way his father had taught him. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Don't give them the satisfaction. Coach Harlan didn't intervene. He stood with his clipboard tucked under his arm, jaw tight, eyes sliding past Marcus like he wasn't there. The referee glanced over, hesitated, then blew the whistle anyway. Play resumed. On the next snap, Marcus was shoved from behind after the whistle. Hard. His shoulder hit the ground. Laughter erupted again. Players this time, not fans. As he pushed himself up, a lineman leaned close enough that Marcus could smell mint gum and sweat. "You're not built for this," the man said softly, almost kindly. "Know your place." Something cold settled in Marcus's chest. Not rage, not yet. Recognition. This wasn't about the missed catch. It never had been. High above the field, a camera lens zoomed in. Somewhere in the stands, a phone was raised, recording everything. Marcus felt it without seeing it, like a pressure between his shoulders. The scoreboard flickered. The crowd roared. And Marcus Reed realized, with a sudden, terrifying clarity, that tomorrow everything would either break him, or expose all of them. Marcus Reed stood on the 40-yard line while the crowd decided what he was worth. "Focus," Jamal whispered beside him, low enough that only Marcus could hear. "Just focus." Marcus nodded but didn't answer. His helmet felt too tight, the chin strap digging into his skin. Across the line, a defensive back smirked, rocking back on his heels like this was already over. "Watch his hands," the guy said to no one in particular. "Stone fingers." The snap came fast. The ball left the quarterback's hand clean, spinning under the lights. Marcus cut inside, beat his man by half a step, and reached. The ball skimmed his fingertips and fell. The stadium groaned, then laughed. "Damn," someone shouted. "Every time." Marcus turned back to the huddle, jaw clenched. Coach Harlan didn't look at him. He was already talking, marker squeaking against the whiteboard. "Execution," the coach said flatly. "We need execution." Marcus waited. Nothing else came. On the next play, he ran a slant. The cornerback grabbed his jersey, yanked him sideways before the ball arrived. Marcus stumbled. "No flag." "Play through it," the ref said as Marcus looked up. Not unkind, just final. Back in the huddle, the quarterback sighed. "Man, you gotta fight harder for it." Marcus met his eyes. "He pulled me." The quarterback shrugged. Still. When the whistle blew again, a lineman clipped Marcus's leg after the play. He hit the turf hard, breath leaving his chest in a sharp burst. Laughter spilled from the opposing sideline. Coach Harlan folded his arms. Marcus pushed himself up slowly. His shoulder throbbed. As he stood, the lineman leaned in. "You don't belong here," the man murmured. "They just haven't told you yet." Marcus froze for half a second, then walked away. On the sideline, Jamal swore under his breath. "You good?" "I'm fine," Marcus said. He wasn't. From the booth, a commentator laughed lightly. "Emotions running high tonight. Reed's gotta keep his head." The words landed heavier than the hits. On third down, the play was called for Marcus again. He lined up, chest tight. A snap. A route. Contact early, another shove. Another no call. The ball sailed past. The crowd booed. Coach Harlan finally looked at him. His expression was controlled, disappointed in a way that felt rehearsed. "Sit," the coach said. Marcus opened his mouth, closed it. He sat. As the game went on without him, his phone buzzed in his locker. Notifications stacked. Clips uploaded. Comments multiplying. One video froze on the moment he hit the ground, laughter loud in the background. The caption read, "Soft." Marcus stared at the screen, pulse pounding, and understood something clearly for the first time. This wasn't just a game anymore. Marcus woke to his phone vibrating like it was trying to escape the nightstand. He didn't reach for it at first. The room was gray with early morning light, curtains barely filtering the sun. His body ached in places the trainers never seemed to notice. Older. He lay still, staring at a crack in the ceiling, listening to the phone buzz again. Finally he grabbed it. 37 notifications. Missed calls. Texts stacked on top of each other like they'd been arguing overnight. "You okay? Don't say anything yet. Turn on the news." He opened social media by instinct and immediately regretted it. The clip was everywhere. Him hitting the turf. Laughter bleeding through the audio. A freeze frame of his face just before he stood up. Jaw tight, eyes flat. Too emotional. Not tough enough for D1. Always the victim. Marcus locked the phone and sat up, elbows on his knees. He breathed slowly until the tightness in his chest eased enough to move. The knock came at the door, soft but insistent. "Marcus," his mother called. "You awake, baby?" He stood and opened it. Denise Reed looked smaller in the doorway than he remembered from last week, like the night had taken something from her too. She held her phone in one hand, keys in the other. "You seen it?" she asked. He nodded. She stepped inside and pulled him into a hug that was firm, grounding. "You don't say a word to anyone yet. Not reporters. Not the school. Nobody." "They already are," Marcus said. "Saying words." Denise exhaled sharply. "That's how they do it. They talk until you're the story, not what happened." His phone buzzed again. This time it was his father. Marcus answered. "Hey, you home?" Robert Reed asked. "Dorm." "Good. Stay put. Listen to your mother." Marcus looked at Denise. She raised an eyebrow, almost smiling. "They're calling it a discipline issue," Robert continued. "Saying you lost focus." Marcus closed his eyes. "I didn't." "I know," his father said. "But knowing and proving are different things." After the call ended, Denise sat on the edge of the bed. The school released a statement. Marcus looked at her. She read it aloud. "The university is aware of last night's events and is reviewing the situation. We hold our student athletes to the highest standards of conduct." Marcus laughed once, sharp and humorless. "Conduct. That word," Denise said quietly, "is doing a lot of work." Another message came in. This one from Jamal. "They telling folks you were benched for attitude. Watch yourself today." Marcus typed back. "Appreciate you." He sat down again, scrolling despite himself. A former player from another school tweeted support. Then a journalist asked a question. Then a commentator reframed it. "See?" one talking head said on a clip. "If you don't want that attention, don't react." Marcus muted the video. Denise stood. "I'm going to make some calls. Lawyer. Maybe the Alumni Association." "Mom," Marcus said. "Don't." He turned. "You don't protect a system that won't protect you." The door closed behind her. Marcus was alone again, the silence loud now. Another text buzzed. Unknown number. "They're meeting at 10. Min and coach." "You weren't supposed to hear that." Marcus stared at the message. "Who is this?" He typed. "Someone who learned the hard way," came the reply. "They'll want an apology. Not from them. From you." His stomach twisted. He set the phone down like it might burn him. At 9:45, his phone rang again. Coach Harlan. Marcus watched it ring. Let it go to voicemail. A minute later a text followed. "We need to talk. This doesn't have to get messy." Marcus leaned back against the headboard. Messy for who, he wondered. At 10 on the dot, an email hit his inbox. Mandatory meeting. Attendance required. He stood, pulled on a hoodie, and caught his reflection in the mirror. Same face. Same body. But something behind his eyes had shifted. As he reached for the door, his phone buzzed one last time. Link. Footage. Different angle. Clearer sound. A voice he recognized leaned in close and said, "Know your place." Marcus swallowed. For the first time since the field, his hands didn't shake. He stepped out into the hallway, the door clicking shut behind him, carrying the weight of a choice he could no longer avoid. The conference room smelled like burnt coffee and lemon disinfectant, a sharp, artificial clean that made Marcus's head throb. The walls were lined with framed photos, championship teams, smiling coaches, trophies lifted by hands that all looked the same from a distance. Marcus took the chair farthest from the door. Coach Harlan sat at the head of the table, posture relaxed, fingers laced like he was about to lead a prayer. To his right was Linda Park from Athletics Compliance, her laptop already open. To his left, Dean Walters adjusted his tie, eyes flicking briefly to Marcus and then away. "Marcus," Harlan said, voice calm, almost gentle. "Glad you could make it." "It was mandatory," Marcus replied. Small pause followed. Not long enough to be awkward, but long enough to register. Dean Walters cleared his throat. "We're here to resolve last night's situation quickly and responsibly." "Responsibly for who?" Marcus asked. Linda's fingers froze above the keyboard. Harlan leaned back in his chair, exhaling slowly. "See," Harlan said, "this is what I'm talking about. That tone." Marcus looked at him. "I haven't raised my voice." "You don't have to," Harlan replied. "It's about how things come across." Dean nodded. "Perception matters. Especially now that the clip is circulating." Marcus felt his jaw tighten. "The clip of me getting hit after the whistle." Linda finally spoke. "Marcus, we're not here to debate calls on the field." "Then what are we debating?" he asked. Another pause. Dean folded his hands. "We need to discuss your response. Your body language. The way you disengaged." "I was benched," Marcus said. "For attitude," Harlan added smoothly. Marcus laughed, a short sound that surprised even him. "You didn't say anything when they were grabbing me." Harlan's eyes hardened just a fraction. "Football is physical. So is targeting." Linda cut in quickly. "Let's stay constructive. The university is prepared to support you, but that depends on cooperation." Marcus leaned forward. "Cooperation meaning what?" Dean slid a printed statement across the table. "An acknowledgement. A brief apology. You take responsibility for letting emotions get the better of you." Marcus stared at the paper. The words blurred together, but one sentence stood out. "I regret my behavior and understand the importance of maintaining composure." He pushed it back. "That's not true." Harlan sighed. "Marcus, nobody's saying you're a bad kid. But you're part of something bigger than yourself." "There it is," Marcus said quietly. Dean frowned. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means you want me quiet so this goes away." Linda spoke softly. "We want stability." Marcus looked at her. "For the program." "For everyone," she said, though her eyes didn't meet his. Harlan leaned forward now, elbows on the table. "You've got a future here, Marcus. Scouts watch these things. If you get labeled difficult." "I'm already labeled," Marcus cut in. "I just didn't pick the word." The room went still. Dean's voice dropped. "Careful." Marcus stood. His chair scraped loudly against the floor. "I've been careful. Every practice. Every interview. Every time someone says something sideways and I'm supposed to smile." Harlan stood too. "Sit down." "No," Marcus said. "I'm done pretending this is about my tone." Linda closed her laptop slowly. "If you refuse to cooperate, there may be consequences." Marcus nodded. "I figured." Dean straightened his tie. "We could suspend you. For conduct. For reacting to being targeted. For insubordination," Dean corrected. Harlan crossed his arms. "This didn't have to blow up." Marcus looked at him. "You let it." Silence stretched again, thicker this time. Finally Harlan spoke. Think about what you're throwing away. Marcus picked up the paper, folded it once, and set it back on the table. I'm thinking about what you're protecting. He turned and walked toward the door. Dean called after him. Marcus, if you leave now, we'll have to proceed without you. Marcus paused with his hand on the handle. You already were. He stepped into the hallway. The door shut behind him, muffling the room, the voices, the illusion of choice. His phone buzzed immediately. A message from an unknown number. They just confirmed everything you said. You still willing to talk? Marcus took a breath, then typed back. He slid the phone into his pocket and started down the corridor, the sound of his footsteps echoing off the polished floor, each step carrying him farther from the story they wanted, and closer to the one they couldn't control. The cafe sat 2 blocks off campus, tucked between a nail salon and a shuttered bookstore. It smelled like burnt espresso and cinnamon, the kind of place people chose when they didn't want to be seen choosing it. Marcus arrived early, took the corner table, and kept his back to the wall. He watched the door. When she came in, he recognized her immediately. Not from television but from the posture. The way she scanned the room without making it obvious. The way she didn't hesitate. Marcus Reed? She asked. That's me. She slid into the chair opposite him and set her phone on the table, screen down. I'm Elena Brooks. I know, Marcus said. You asked good questions. She smiled faintly. You noticed. They sat for a moment, the noise of the cafe filling the space where trust would have to be built. I don't have long, Elena said. And neither do you. Marcus nodded. They want me to apologize. They always do, she replied. It keeps things clean. For them. For everyone who benefits, Elena said. I want to show you something. She turned her phone over and tapped. The screen filled with footage. Sideline view, crisp and steady. The camera followed Marcus through the route, caught the grab, the yank, the late hit. The audio was clearer than anything he'd seen online. Watch the timestamp, Elena said. Marcus did. He saw the ref's angle. Saw him look straight at the contact. No flag, Marcus said. There's more. A swipe. Another clip. Practice footage from 2 weeks earlier. Coach's voice raised. Again, Reed. You think you're special. Marcus closed his eyes. And this, Elena said, softer now. Third clip played. Tunnel cam. A slur muttered as players passed. Someone laughed. Marcus's throat tightened. Where did you get these? People talk, Elena said. Especially when they think no one's listening. I've been hearing the same story for years. Different names. Same ending. Marcus stared at the table. If this goes out, they'll come for me. They already are. He looked up. You'll blur faces. No, Elena said. Truth doesn't blur well. Marcus exhaled slowly. What do you need from me? Consent, she said. And context. I won't run this without you. Silence stretched. The espresso machine hissed like a warning. My mom's scared, Marcus said. My dad too. They keep saying to be smart. Elena nodded. Being smart and being safe aren't always the same thing. What happens if I say no? She didn't hesitate. They bury it. They suspend you. Maybe quietly move you out next year. The pattern holds. Marcus laughed bitterly. And if I say yes? They investigate, Elena said. And people who've been comfortable get uncomfortable. His phone buzzed. Text from Jamal. Coach told us you're taking time away. Marcus typed back. Good. He looked at Elena again. When? Tonight, she said. I've got corroboration. Former players. An official who missed a call and admits why. Marcus's pulse quickened. Why are you doing this? Elena leaned back. Because I wrote the apology story once. It still bothers me. They stood together, the decision settling heavy but firm in Marcus's chest. Send it, he said. By evening, the campus hummed with rumor. Marcus stayed in his room, lights off, phone face down, until it vibrated non-stop. He turned it over. The headline stared back at him. Exclusive. Pattern of targeting and silence at state football program. His name was there but not alone. His phone rang. Unknown number. He answered. Hello. Marcus, Dean Walters said. His voice sounded strained. We need to talk. You already did, Marcus replied. This is serious, the dean said. Sponsors are calling. Marcus pictured the framed photos, the clean walls. So am I. Another call cut in. Coach Harlan this time. Why would you do this? Harlan demanded. Marcus said nothing. After everything we gave you. You gave me silence, Marcus said. And expected gratitude. The line went dead. Messages poured in now: support, hate, fear, relief. A former player messaged a single line. Thank you for saying it. Marcus sat on the edge of his bed, hands steady for once. Outside, sirens wailed somewhere in the city. Inside, the phone kept buzzing. For the first time, the noise didn't drown him. It carried him forward. The first notification hit at 8:01 p.m. Marcus was sitting on the floor with his back against the bed, laptop open but untouched, the room lit only by the blue glow of his phone. He hadn't planned to watch the release. Elena had told him not to. You'll feel every word twice, she'd said. He watched anyway. A news alert slid across the screen, followed by another, then 3 more stacked on top of it. Pattern of targeting. Former players speak out. University under scrutiny. Marcus swallowed. His phone rang. Jamal. You seeing this? Jamal asked, breathless. Yeah. They just played the tunnel clip. On TV. Marcus closed his eyes. He could hear it again even without sound. The muttered word, the laugh that followed, the way no one corrected it. They're arguing already, Jamal said. Some dude saying it's locker room talk. Marcus opened his eyes. Of course he is. Another call came in. His mother. Marcus, Denise said, voice tight but steady. I'm proud of you. That did it. His throat burned. I didn't want it like this, he said. I know, she replied. But it was already like this. You just turned the light on. On screen, Elena appeared in a split frame beside grainy footage. Precise. This is not an isolated incident, she said. It's a pattern of silence, of selective discipline, of young men being told to endure quietly for the sake of a program. Marcus watched the comments scroll under the live stream. They came fast, contradictory, violent in their speed. Finally, he's lying. Played there. This is real. Why now? His phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Thank you for not backing down. Then another. We warned him. He didn't listen. Marcus stood and paced the room, the walls suddenly too close. Every few steps, his phone lit up again. A teammate texted. Admin just pulled coach into a meeting. A former player DM'd a paragraph-long confession, ending with, I wish I'd done what you're doing. At 8:27, a push notification landed heavier than the rest. Sponsor, reviewing relationship with university athletics. Marcus sat back down hard. His phone rang. Coach Harlan. Marcus stared at the name until it stopped. Another call came immediately after. Same number. He answered this time. What do you want? Marcus asked. Harlan didn't bother with pleasantries. You blindsided us. Marcus laughed softly. You ignored me. This is going to hurt people, Harlan said. Not just you. Funny, Marcus replied. Nobody worried about that last night. Harlan lowered his voice. You think this ends well for you? I think it ends honest, Marcus said. Then Harlan spoke, quieter now. You could have come to me. I did, Marcus said. On the field. On the sideline. In that room. The line went silent. Then disconnected. By 9, the university issued a second statement. Longer. Carefully worded. We take these allegations seriously. Independent review. Commitment to student-athlete well-being. Marcus read it twice. It said everything and nothing. His father called. They're calling me, Robert said. Old contacts. People asking if this is as bad as it looks. And, Marcus asked. And I told them it's worse, his father said. Because it lasted. Marcus smiled despite himself. The door to his room knocked once, then opened. Jamal stepped in without waiting. You good? Jamal asked. Marcus shrugged. Define good. Jamal held up his phone. They're saying a hearing's coming. Real one. Marcus nodded. It should. Jamal hesitated. You know some folks gonna hate you forever, right? Marcus looked at him. They already did. I just didn't know their names. Outside, chants drifted up from the quad. Students gathering, phones raised, voices overlapping. Not all supportive. Not all hostile. Loud enough to matter. Marcus stood at the window and looked down at the crowd. Feels weird, he said. Being the center of something. Jamal leaned against the wall. You didn't choose that. You chose not to lie. As the night deepened, the noise didn't fade. Multiplied. Interviews queued. Threads exploded. Names surfaced. At 11:58 p.m., Elena texted. Tomorrow gets louder. Get some rest. Marcus set the phone down. He lay back on the bed, staring at the dark, heart still racing, mind refusing sleep. Somewhere between the fear and the relief, a thought settled in. Whatever happened next, they couldn't pretend he wasn't there anymore. And for the first time since the field, that felt like winning something that mattered. By morning, the hate learned his name. Marcus woke to a vibrating phone and a knot in his stomach that hadn't loosened all night. The screen was a blur of alerts. Mentions, tags, direct messages. He opened one by accident. You should be grateful. Stop playing the race card. Go back where you belong. He locked the phone and pressed it face down against the mattress, like that might quiet it. Didn't. The buzzing continued, relentless, as if the device itself were angry. Down the hall a door slammed. Voices rose and fell. Students arguing, laughing, speculating. The campus felt different now. Charged. Watchful. Marcus pulled on sweats and stepped outside. Heads turned. Some nodded. Some looked away. Few stared too long. Marcus! Someone called. A girl he didn't know jogged up, breathless. Just thank you. He nodded, unsure what to say. A group near the steps went silent as he passed. One guy muttered, There he is, not quietly enough. At 10, his phone rang with a blocked number. This is athletics, a woman said briskly. You're suspended pending review. Effective immediately. For what? Marcus asked. Policy, she replied. Details will follow. The call ended. Marcus stood still, the word suspended echoing louder than the chants from last night. He imagined the headline forming, the way people would read it without context and feel confirmed. By noon, the threats started arriving in clusters. Screenshots, emails, a voicemail that played static for 3 seconds before a man laughed and hung up. Denise drove in that afternoon. Her jaw set the way it got when she was trying not to show fear. Pack a bag, she said. You're staying with us for a bit. I can't just leave, Marcus replied. You can, she said. And you will. On the drive home, the radio hosts debated him like a theory. One called him courageous. Another called him divisive. They all said his name the same way, like it belonged to them now. At home, his father had printed articles spread across the kitchen table. He circled phrases in red ink. See this, Robert said, tapping the paper. Alleged. They love that word. Marcus sank into a chair. They're suspending me. Robert nodded. I know. Coach won't answer. He shouldn't, Denise said. He's protecting himself. That night Marcus tried to sleep. Failed. Every sound made him flinch. He checked the locks twice. Then 3 times. At 2 a.m. Jamal called. They pulled my scholarship interview, Jamal said. Not saying why. Marcus sat up. I'm sorry. Jamal laughed bitterly. Don't be. This is what they do. Punish the noise around the problem. Another call came in while they were still talking. Lena. It's escalating, she said. But so is the evidence. Marcus rubbed his eyes. I don't know how much more I can take. I do, Elena said gently. More than they expect. The next morning a letter arrived. Official. Heavy paper. The university seal embossed like a stamp of authority. In light of recent events. Temporary separation. Investigation ongoing, cooperation expected. Temporary, Marcus repeated aloud. Like a timeout. They want you tired, Denise said. They want you to fold. Outside, a car slowed in front of the house. A man leaned out the window, phone raised, recording. Marcus stepped back from the curtain. I didn't sign up for this, he said quietly. No, Robert replied. You stood up in it. That afternoon, Marcus met with a counselor recommended by Elena. The room was calm, neutral, intentionally boring. You're experiencing trauma, the counselor said. Hypervigilance. Anxiety. Marcus nodded. I feel weak saying that. Strength isn't the absence of damage, she replied. It's what you do after. By evening, support letters arrived too. Alumni. Former players. A janitor who wrote, I've seen this happen for years. Marcus read every word. Late that night, his phone buzzed again. A new alert. University announces independent hearing date. He exhaled long and slow. Outside, rain began to fall, soft at first, then harder, washing the street clean in a way that felt symbolic but incomplete. Marcus sat at the table, hands wrapped around a mug he wasn't drinking from, and understood something he hadn't allowed himself yet. Winning didn't feel like triumph. Felt like endurance. And he wasn't sure how much more it would cost, but he knew now that quitting would cost more. The building was all glass and steel, the kind of place designed to look transparent while hiding everything that mattered. Marcus stood outside with his parents, hands clasped, suit jacket stiff across his shoulders. Cameras clustered near the steps, reporters murmuring like a low tide. Remember, Denise said softly, you don't owe them calm. You owe yourself truth. Marcus nodded. He felt oddly detached, like he was watching himself walk forward. Inside, the hearing room was colder than he expected. A long table faced a raised dais where the panel sat. 5 members, 3 men, 2 women, all with folders stacked neatly in front of them. A university attorney sat off to the side, expression neutral. Elena was there too, notebook in hand, eyes steady. Dean Walters entered last. He didn't look at Marcus. Let's begin, the chairwoman said. This proceeding concerns allegations of misconduct, institutional failure, and retaliation. Marcus swallowed. Coach Harlan took the stand first. I categorically deny any pattern of discrimination, Harlan said. I treat all my players the same. Panelists leaned forward. Then explain these clips. The footage played. Practice. Game. Tunnel. Harlan shifted. Football is intense. Words get said. Words, the panelist repeated. And actions. Harlan's jaw tightened. I can't control every interaction. Marcus felt his pulse spike. He stood when called. Can I respond? He asked. The chairwoman nodded. Briefly. Marcus faced the room. I wasn't asking him to control everything. I was asking him to see me. Silence followed, heavy and listening. Former players testified next. One by one they spoke. Measured, shaking, angry. Stories overlapped. Details matched. They told me to keep my head down. They benched me for fit. They said I was lucky to be there. A former assistant coach admitted to missing calls. We were told not to make waves. The university attorney objected twice. Both times the chairwoman overruled. When it was Marcus's turn again, he sat alone at the table. Tell us what happened, the chairwoman said. Marcus took a breath. He described the grab, the shove, the silence, the meeting afterward. The paper slid across the table, the word conduct doing its quiet work. They wanted me to apologize for surviving, he said. Dean Walters shifted in his seat. That's a mischaracterization. Marcus looked at him. Then characterize it for me. The dean opened his mouth, closed it. Outside, rain hammered the glass. By late afternoon, the room felt altered. Suppose. The chairwoman addressed the room. We will deliberate. Marcus stood, legs stiff, and walked out with his parents. Cameras flashed. Someone shouted a question he didn't answer. That night, the decision came faster than anyone expected. Coach Harlan has been placed on administrative leave. The university acknowledges systemic failures. Corrective actions forthcoming. Marcus read the statement once. Then again. His phone rang. Jamal. They did it, Jamal said. They actually did it. Some of it, Marcus replied. Still, Jamal said. That matters. Elena texted a single line. This isn't the end. It's the record. 2 days later, more names surfaced. An internal memo leaked. Emails showed warnings ignored, complaints buried. Coach Harlan resigned, effective immediately. The dean followed a week later. Marcus watched the news from his parents' living room, the sound low. Faces changed on the screen, but the language stayed careful. Accountability, a host said. A turning point. Marcus didn't cheer. He didn't cry. He felt tired. That night, he sat on the porch with his father. The air smelled like wet earth. You won, Robert said. Marcus shook his head. I survived. Robert considered that. Sometimes that's the same thing. Marcus looked out at the dark street, the quiet finally real. He thought about the field. Laughter. The way silence had almost convinced him he was alone. He wasn't. But he also wasn't unchanged. When his phone buzzed again, an offer, a transfer opportunity, a fresh start, Marcus let it ring for a moment before answering. The cost had been high. The truth had been higher. And as the night settled around him, Marcus understood that what he'd won couldn't be measured in trophies or headlines. It was the right to stand where he was. And not be told to know his place. The campus felt different now. Quiet, cautious, aware. Walkways that had once been filled with laughter and idle chatter were subdued, almost as if the stone and concrete themselves had absorbed last week's tension. Marcus moved through it all like a ghost, hands in his pockets, eyes forward. People noticed him but didn't approach. Some whispered. Some avoided him entirely. A few offered tentative nods of respect, but most were silent. Emails pinged constantly in his inbox. Administrators, journalists, alumni. Everyone had something to say, some correction to issue, some explanation to give. Marcus skimmed each message, unread in half, read fully in the rest. Every sentence confirmed one thing. The world had shifted, and he had forced it to shift, whether he wanted to or not. A notice arrived from the university athletics department. Coach Harlan had resigned. Dean Walters would no longer oversee the program, and mandatory training on bias and discrimination was being implemented immediately. The words were precise, careful. Each syllable chosen to protect the institution, even while admitting fault. Marcus closed the email and exhaled. The room felt suddenly heavy, like the air itself was trying to settle around him. His phone buzzed again. Another journalist, another request for an interview. Are you doing that? Jamal asked over the phone. I'm thinking about it, Marcus said. I want them to hear the truth, not the sound bites. That'll bring more attention, Jamal warned. I know, Marcus replied. But hiding doesn't undo anything. He spent the afternoon with his parents, walking around their neighborhood, trying to find normalcy in the mundane. The rhythm of passing cars, the faint smell of cut grass, neighbors walking dogs. Help. Only a little. By evening, a local news segment aired that highlighted Marcus's story. Interviews with former players, faculty, and even a few administrators played alongside footage of him on the field. The narrative was cautious but undeniable. A systemic problem had been exposed. Marcus watched silently, fists loosely clenched, feeling the weight of every eye that had been on him since the first viral clip. Even with vindication, the emotional cost pressed against him. Friends had unfriended him on social media. Some teammates still whispered behind closed doors. Marcus's body remembered the hits, the shoves, the laughter, and the silence of those who had watched without intervening. Each memory came like a photograph, sharp and unflinching. An email from a sponsor arrived. They apologized for previous comments that questioned his attitude and offered support. A small victory, but one that felt hollow in comparison to the scars of the past week. Later, sitting in his bedroom, Marcus opened a private chat with Elena. "You okay?" "Type. I will be," he replied. "Just tired of being everything at once." "You did the right thing," she answered. "They'll remember it, even if they don't say it." Outside, rain tapped lightly against the windowpane. Marcus stared at the droplets streaking down, each one a small, silent affirmation that change, like water, could erode the hardest stone. He thought of the field again, the lights, the laughter, the shoves, the eyes that had never truly seen him. And he realized that what had started as public humiliation had transformed into a reckoning, not just for him but for every player who had been silenced. By nightfall, Marcus made a decision. He would not return to the same program next season. The environment was too toxic, the memories too vivid. He needed a fresh start, somewhere the focus could be on his talent, not his skin or his attitude. His parents supported him without hesitation. His mother, hands on his shoulders, said softly, "This isn't running away. This is claiming your space." Marcus understood. Finally, he packed a small bag, leaving behind textbooks, jerseys, and old shoes, each item a relic of a chapter that had ended with him standing, but forever changed. Before he left, he stood at the edge of the campus field one last time. Empty bleachers, goalposts, and night shadows stretched across the turf. He ran his hand along the fence, remembering the hits, the laughter, the whispers. The place had tried to break him. It had not succeeded. Marcus turned, walking away with a weight lifted and another carried. A paradox he would live with, but one he accepted. Justice had come in the form of exposure, resignations, and systemic acknowledgement, but he knew the emotional toll would linger, invisible to everyone but him. The streetlights guided him to the car, headlights glinting off wet asphalt. As he drove away, Marcus didn't look back. The campus receded behind him, a silent witness to the storm he had weathered, the battles he had fought, and the life he would now build on his own terms. It was victory tempered with cost. It was truth endured. And in the quiet hum of the car, Marcus Reed finally allowed himself to breathe. Marcus Reed stepped onto the practice field of his new school, the grass crisp beneath his cleats, morning dew glinting in the rising sun. It was a smaller program, a quieter campus, but everything felt sharper, more immediate. No cameras, no pretense, no history to weigh him down. He breathed it in, the smell of cut grass, leather, and damp earth, and for the first time in weeks, he felt the possibility of control. The coach greeted him warmly, introducing him to a few teammates who didn't know his story, who treated him like any other player. Marcus nodded politely, forcing himself to smile, to let the past stay behind him, but the memories clung stubbornly. The laughter, the shoves, the silent referee, Coach Harlan's clipped instructions, Dean Walter's cold eyes. He sat on the sidelines for a moment, helmet in hand, watching the team run drills. Sweat gleamed on their faces, bodies moving in coordination, focus absolute. Marcus felt the weight of what he'd survived pressing against his chest. He had won, yes. Exposed systemic failure. Forced accountability. But the price had been steep. Friendships fractured, trust challenged, sleepless nights piled atop bruised muscles and sharper scars unseen by anyone. Jamal called earlier that morning. "So, are you really ready?" he asked. Marcus had paused. "I don't know," he said honestly. "But I have to be." He had spent the previous night packing, reading through messages from supporters and detractors alike. Alumni, former players, journalists, even some strangers who had followed his story had sent words of encouragement. But other messages were thinly veiled threats, reminders that not everyone would accept his victory or forgive the discomfort he'd caused. The first snap of the day made him jump slightly, reflex still sharp from old routines. He shook it off, reminding himself this was a new beginning. The quarterback threw a crisp spiral, and Marcus sprinted to intercept it, muscles remembering movement he hadn't lost, focus sharpening like the sun rising higher in the sky. He caught the ball cleanly, pivoted, and ran it back 20 yards before sliding into the turf. Teammates clapped him on the shoulder. No laughter, no whispers, just recognition for what he had done. Later in the locker room, Marcus sat alone for a moment, towel over his shoulders. The walls were bare, no plaques, no reminders of past glories. Only the sound of water dripping from faucets and sneakers squeaking on polished floors. He thought of Coach Harlan resigning, Dean Walters stepping down, the official memos detailing systemic failures. Justice had been done, in the institutional sense. But Marcus knew that victory didn't erase the trauma, the fear, the doubt, the moments where he had wondered if he could survive the next shove, the next snicker. His phone buzzed. A news alert. Former D1 athlete rebuilding career after exposing systemic discrimination. Marcus didn't smile. The headline was accurate but insufficient. It captured results, not the emotional cost, not the sleepless nights, the anxiety, the way he had learned to stand and speak even when no one else would. A knock came at the locker room door. One of the new teammates, small and earnest, peeked in. "Hey, you okay? You're different from the other guys." Marcus looked at him and nodded. "Yeah, I'm okay." But inside, he felt a mixture of relief and caution, a recognition that trust wouldn't come easily. That evening, Marcus went to the small dining hall, ate slowly, and replayed the past few weeks in his mind. Public humiliation, viral clips, threats, the hearing, resignations. It all collided into one sharp memory. He realized that winning wasn't a clean line. It wasn't trophies or headlines or institutional apologies. It was endurance, persistence, and an unflinching commitment to truth despite personal cost. Outside, the campus was quiet. Streetlights reflected in puddles from an earlier rain. Marcus walked to the edge of the field, helmet tucked under one arm. He watched the sky darken, clouds moving slowly. He thought of the field he had left behind, the stands, the lights, the voices. He thought of Coach Harlan, Dean Walters, and the players who had stood silent or complicit. He thought of Jamal, his parents, Elena, the journalists, the strangers who had supported him. He realized something crucial. Victory was not the absence of struggle. It was the presence of resolve. The phone buzzed again. Another message from a supporter. "Keep going. They can't touch what you hold inside." Marcus put the phone down. He felt the weight of it all settle. It pressed against him but didn't crush him. He had survived. He had endured. He had won in the truest sense, not through fame or accolades, but by standing firm in his truth. As he walked back to the dorm, Marcus allowed himself a small, quiet acknowledgement. The system could be challenged. The world could be uncomfortable for those in power. And while he had lost parts of his innocence and trust, he had gained something heavier, more durable. His voice, his agency, his refusal to be silenced. He sat by the window that night, staring out at the quiet campus. Somewhere beyond the lights, people slept, unaware of the battles fought quietly in small rooms, in boardrooms, on fields under stadium lights. Marcus closed his eyes. He had survived. He had endured. He had won. But he knew the cost, and he accepted it. Marcus Reed smiled faintly, a small, steady smile. Tomorrow he would run again. He would catch the ball. He would play. He would continue, on his own terms, in his own way. For the first time in weeks, he felt whole enough to let that possibility exist. This completes Chapter 9, the final chapter of the story, bringing Marcus's journey from public humiliation to endurance, systemic exposure, and personal victory, while showing the emotional cost and poetic justice. If you want, I can also compile the entire story into a single polished manuscript with all 9 chapters, word counts, and chapter titles ready for submission or publication.